What's going on, everybody? It's your boy back at you again with another Tommy Reads X-Men. Today, we are looking at Xmen number 22 from July 1966, written by Roy Thomas again, with art by Jay Gavin. This one is called Divided We Fall. Now, first off, before we start talking about the issue and all the stuff that happens in it, which is what we do here, there's a little note on the first page that says, Stan Lee's on vacation. So, even though he's editor in name, like, a lot of stuff I feel wouldn't cut the mustard if Stan the Man were in the house, you know what I'm saying? But let's get right to it. Like we always do at this time, we kick off issues with them training in the X-Mansion, except for this time, Charles has a little surprise for him. He shows a big-ass robot that he built called Colosso. Now, why... First off, why would you name your robot if it's just a training thing? Or, like, it's something that's not, like, Colosso ain't coming back? Maybe? I don't know. But, like, why name him? I don't name my sandwich that I'm about to eat for lunch, PB&J. But, you know, he decides to give it a name. I don't know if he gave it a personality, but whatever. Anyway, be like, Colosso's here to fight the X-Men. He likes checkers. So he tells him, here's the robot I want you to fight for your training today. You have 5 minutes. Go! And so the X-Men automatically start individually attacking Colosso, and that does not fare well for them. And then they decide, hey, we're a team. Let's work as a team. I feel like for a few issues now, they've been working on this problem of, let's attack everyone individually. We get kidnapped. And we work as a team and we save the day. Will that have an effect on this issue? Let's talk about it. So, they work as a team when Cyclops tells Jean to basically steal the blanket Papa Chuck always has on. You know, the blanket that Papa Chuck always has on. Because he gets cold in the chair. And they use that to block Colosso's vision. So, they knock him down. They win the day, but while they're getting their ass whipped, while they're getting beat, Hank starts to think, is Charles controlling this robot, or what? How does it know all our weaknesses? And then Papa Chuck chimes in his head, in his bloop bloop, his thought bubble, and he's like, no, I'm not controlling it, which means he's been reading their thoughts this entire time, so he's always reading their thoughts. Anyway, so... He tells him, no, I'm just mentally powering it. Like, how is that different from controlling it? Like, I'm recording this, and I powered it up, so I'm controlling it, you know, on what I'm recording on, which is my phone. And, yeah, so how is that any different? He's like, I mean, it's not like he has, like, a power glove and stuff. Like, he's like, the power glove's rad. And, yeah, so... It's the same thing, but anyway, the point is the X-Men get the W. They take out Colosso, and then Charles is like, good. Now, mind you, he told them they had 5 minutes. Are we to assume that they did this all in under 5 minutes? Because they never mention the time again. It's not like he was at the stopwatch like, 4:56, cutting it close, guys. No, they don't mention the time other than... I guess you have to assume that they did it in under 5 minutes. But he's like, cool. So you beat Colosso. Now, number one, how is this robot looked about 10 feet tall, the way Gavin drew it. So, I don't know where they had room in the mansion to store this, where he was building it, how he I guess he used his mind, or whatever, I don't know. It was just weird, because it came out of like a little thing, like a drawer, or, you know what? Let's do a closer look on it. Alright, y'all. So here is the beginning of the issue where the X-Men are going to start training in the X-Mansion. Mind you, I told you before, since Stan Lee is on vacation now, let's see how the swinging staff handles a yarn all by their lonesome. And, you know, spoiler, they don't handle it that well. But here is Colosso. How did he even fit this in the mansion, right? Like, this is huge. Anyway, back to the review. Okay, that was real quick and all, but you see what I'm talking about. Like, how did he even get that in the mansion to fit? Then he tells him, you know, okay, I'm going to build this robot again so we can fight it probably down the road, and I'm going to make it stronger now. Which, my Disney fans, that was Syndrome's plan in The Incredibles. Now, granted, given the time frame, in 66, I mean, where the movie started, Incredibles, like, Buddy would have read that comic, right? So that might be where he got the idea. I mean, I know Buddy's not a real person. Come on now. I mean, I know that. But, like, he totally would have read that comic and been like, ah, you know what? That's a good idea. So, after defeating Colossal, Charles like, you guys have had a rough couple weeks. They always seem to be having a rough couple weeks. But he's like, you know what? Let's do a vacation. This time, though. This time, I'm going to give you guys a 2-week vacation. And they're like, super psyched about it or whatever. Like, don't they know? Don't they know by now? When you go on vacation, you're X-Men, bad stuff's going to happen. Like, they just went on their last 1 day off, like 2 issues ago or something, like 2-3 issues ago. That didn't work out well for them. But, yeah. So, they're getting ready to go. Warren actually asked Jean to dinner before, like, they take off and go on a train to visit their families or whatnot. He's like, hey, you want to go to dinner? She's like, yeah. Scott, you want to go to dinner with us? And he's like, yeah, I do. Oh, the triangle continues, and I smell sitcom. Like, this is a total sitcom plot of, like, he likes her, but she likes him. Stuff like that. I mean, I expected hijinks to ensue, but, you know, whatever, not really. So, finally, on page 8, we meet the bad guy of the issue. Like, I know Roy Thomas has done this before, where it almost feels like 2 issues in one. You know what I'm saying? Like, first we had 8 pages of X-Mansion hijinks and tomfoolery, and now we have the villain, and his name is Count Nefaria. Count Nefaria is up to nefarious means. Now, that is so on the nose for a bad guy. His name might as well be like Kid Badass or Villaino or something stupid like that. Anyway, he kind of looks like Discount Dracula. He's got a cape. It's up high, you know. And he's like, I just imagine he talks like that and whatever. And yeah, his plan, his grand plan is to just recruit the X-Men. Be like, hey, you want to join the team? We got a hell of a, you know, healthcare package, 401k. That was a thing back then. Anyway, so we cut to Bobby and Hank. Now, every time the X-Men have had a day off, they've decided to hang out together, which is, you know, kind of sweet. But they decided to go on their double date again, because last time that worked out so well for them. Bobby's going out with the lady from the coffee shop, and they say her name's Zelda in this one. I'm not sure if that was mentioned before. And Hank is going out with the librarian he was really crappy to last time, and her name is Vera. Hank, in I guess a bit of comedy, decides to say, hey, Vera, and he taps on the shoulder and turns around, and it's a dude. Like, it's a dude with the same haircut, and he's like, oh, my stars and garters. I don't know if he said that yet, but that's like a catchphrase, right? Anyway, and then Vera walks up, she's like, how dare you? No, you know what? I see it. And that just went nowhere. And then Hank and Bobby and then were like, let's go on our date. Let's go. And they're like, cool. So then we cut to Jean and Scott and Angel finish up their dinner. And steak dinner or whatever. And Angel wouldn't let Scott pay even though he's third wheel. And Jean's, you know, in her bloop bloop mind thing, she's pining away for Scott. They leave that, and, you know, we're tying up loose ends from the first 8 pages of what should have been one whole issue of them just getting ready to go and going on doing their stuff. But I guess there's no, you know, no story if they're not fighting some bad guy, you know, some weak-ass bad guy. And speaking of which, the second half of the issue goes into this weird, like, it happens the same way every time of... there's reports that the X-Men are in Central Park. Even though they're on vacation, they're getting ready to leave, take off, do whatever, go to the mall. And, yeah, so the X-Men will hear about it, show up in Central Park, fight some bad guy, and then get kidnapped. So, I'm telling you all this early because I want to focus more on the villains that kidnapped them. Because, man... it is ridiculous. Anyway, So Jean's the first one to get kidnapped. Surprise, surprise. And she gets kidnapped by someone called Plant Man. Now, he's not awesome like Swamp Thing. Marvel has a man thing, which is silly to say. And he's a discount Swamp Thing. I hate to say it, but he is. Let's be real. But no, this ain't even that. This is a dude who looks like a flower. He looks like a flower, like a maltempered flower. And then Angel gets kidnapped by the Scarecrow. Now, I know what you're thinking. There already is a Scarecrow, and he's kind of badass. You know, he's a Batman villain in the Batman Rogues Gallery. This ain't him. This is a dude also dressed like a Scarecrow, but he's got crows literally on him. Like, he's got crows on him. Like, he's like, you know, Copernicus, can you go get me a soda? And then the bird will take off, come back with a tab, which I've recently learned is discontinued. I've never even had one. And, you know, you want a tab, you got to pay for something. Anyway, shout out Back to the Future. That's where that I was all going. And, yeah, so Angel gets kidnapped by the Scarecrow. Now, just the other X-Men, Cyclops just happens to be in Central Park. Just like he happened a couple issues ago to see, you know, the bank robbery where they're dressed up like X-Men, which they still haven't addressed. They're like, are they out there still? Where are they getting the X-Men costumes? Anyway, despite being on vacation, the rest of the X-Men just happened to have their uniforms ready to go. Like, Angel and Jean had it too, so I don't know. I don't pack my work badge everywhere I go. Back when I had a job, thank you, coronavirus. If I had a job, I don't take my work badge everywhere I go. You know, I leave it in wherever my work stuff. So, I mean, why would they bring their uniform? And it's just weird. But, so Bobby and Hank, the way they find out about it is unique. So they're there and at the girl's apartment, because I guess the date's going well, and they went back to have chips and soda. And, yeah, read between the lines, 1966. And they turn on the radio, and they hear the X-Men are in Central Park, and they have to pretend they're not X-Men. So Hank says he gets so startled by the news after their last, you know, run-in with mutants and blah, blah, blah. He makes up some weird excuse that he and Bobby should probably go back to the hotel they're renting and take some tranquilizers and relax. Okay? So y'all tranking up and just chilling in the hotel. That was weird. I mean, were tranquilizers a common thing? Like, I mean, did that mean aspirin? Because, I mean, I feel like that'd be different if he's like, you know, I'm going to go take an Anacin or something. But Hank decides to investigate first, and he gets kidnapped by the Porcupine. Yeah, you guessed it. He had friggin' quills on his uniform, and Hank gets one in the foot, and he's like, youch! And that's enough to stop him. Like, I mean, the mighty beast is stopped by one porcupine quill. Kind of ridiculous. And at that point, they're like, the villains are starting to mention that we've seen them before in other Marvel comics. Actually, they all come from Tales to Astonish. And they mention, like, oh, you know, you're not as tough as Iron Man, who I fought. Or, you know, the other guy was like, oh, the Human Torch had more, you know, the guy who Iceman fights in a second was like, the Human Torch, blah, 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 blah. And, yeah, so just so you know, these guys are established. This ain't their first time. This ain't their first rodeo. But, I mean, with these names, bro, they're like low-level villains. So, Iceman goes to investigate. Same deal. He thinks he sees Hank or whoever. Goes to Central Park. Starts fighting the Eel. The Eel. Now, Amazing Spider-Man 2, that's how Jamie Foxx Electro got his powers, right? He got bit by eels or something. I don't know. It wasn't great. But, yeah. So the Eel here slithers. See what I did? He slithers around, and then Scott joins the fight, finally, after he's done crying about Jean. Like, Jean! And he joins the fight, and right away he gets attacked by the villain set out to get him. His name, you know what? I'm going to show you. So the X-Men are fighting these weird villains, right? And Cyclops and Iceman end up taking on the Uncanny Unicorn That's right, this dude dressed up real weird, has a point on his head that, you guessed it, shoots a laser beam. His unicorn horn shoots a frickin' laser beam. And eventually, yup, X-Men KO'd. The unicorn, though, for real? The unicorn. The frickin' unicorn and the eel take out Iceman and Cyclops. God. If you are the X-Men, when you eventually get out of this, which I assume they are, because they're still making comics, and they're not called the Count Nefaria's X-Men, you should be embarrassed of this loss. You should be embarrassed of this loss. We don't talk about it. So, all 5 X-Men kidnapped. The unicorn, the eel, the plant man, the scarecrow, the porcupine get the W, and they bring him to Count Nefaria's lair, because he has a lair. They all do. And, oh man, where is Magneto when you want to see him? Anyway, they bring him to Count Nefaria's lair, and he basically starts monologuing with the "join me or die." And they're like, what? End of issue. So, final thoughts. Actually, you're going to be surprised. This is a 6.5 out of 10 leaning. That's me leaning. There's nothing here. Leaning. That was pretty good mime, right? Leaning towards a 7. And why? Because of the villains, man. They were so cheesy. They started to go towards, cheesy awfulsome, if you will. They go to cheesy awfulsome, where you start to enjoy, oh my god, the X-Men got beat by a dude in a porcupine costume and a dude with a horn on his head that shot a laser beam. And yet Magneto is getting scared off by ghosts. They do it Magneto wrong. Anyway, yeah, so this is going to be a 2-parter at least. We'll see what Nefaria's nefarious plan is next week. It was cheesy. I enjoyed it. First one I could say I pretty much enjoyed from the Roy Thomas era. But yeah, I would check this one out if I was you. Just to see the X-Men get an early L by the B team. It's like it. Okay, I read one time the Globetrotters lost to the Generals. Right? This is like if the team of the Generals were consistently handing L's to the X-Men. That's it. That's the issue. It was cheesy good, you know what I mean? I enjoyed it. It wasn't it still felt like 2 issues molded into one. Stick with a whole ass one idea. Don't half-ass 2 ideas, you know what I'm saying? But, I enjoyed it. This has been Tommy Reads X-Men, another issue, issue 22. Next week is actually my birthday week, so we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, turning big number and want to deal with that. Anyway, so yeah, happy early birthday, I guess, to myself. And yeah, we're going to take a whole week, just relax, kick it, have a good time. Birthday's midweek, so yeah, that's what we're going to do. We'll be back with issue 23. This has been issue 22. If you like what you see, like and subscribe down here. Hit that bell notification that's in the corner somewhere. Doing big things on the channel. Hopefully we'll be unboxing Papa Chuck pretty soon. Thank you for checking it out. We'll see you soon. Later.